Hello. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope you had a good holiday, good New Year, all that stuff. So, back here now, I wanted to talk about a few things. Number one, I want to talk about your next speech. So, speech number two is going to be a little bit different than speech number one, in that speech number two will be a written speech that you will read. However, uh, it you shouldn't just sit down, stare, at your paper and read it, not look up. You should have eye contact and all that kind of thing, just like you would be giving if you had a written speech that you were giving to a public audience. Again, standing up, videotape it, upload it to YouTube, just like speech number one, which, by the way, were very good. I enjoyed speech number one very much. Thought you guys did a nice job with those. So, with speech number two, like I said, it's different in the style, but also in what you're going to be talking about. So this time you're going to pick an issue, a social issue, a divisive topic of some kind. You're going to try to influence your classmates, myself, about why one side is, right, if you will, and one side is not. And you will have to have these 5 sources to support your position. Sorry, that's my washing machine, which is really loud. And all that stuff. You'll also have to send me the actual speech, the Word document of the speech that you wrote up. So 6 minutes. So someone's going to ask me, how long is a 6-minute speech in terms of written on paper? So how long should it be? I don't know, to be honest with you, off the top of my head. I don't know. My assumption is that it's probably going to be maybe, I'm literally guessing here, maybe 2 minutes a page to read, a minute and a half. I don't really know. I think you're just gonna have to test and see, kind of. And if anyone gets this done quickly or soon, and you can let me know how many pages it was that took you, and I can provide that to the rest of the class if people haven't done it yet. All right. So that's speech number two. By the end of today, which is January 2nd, you should email me 3 topic ideas so I can check them out and make sure they're all good. All right, so that's that. Moving on now to Chapter 9. So Chapter 9 is a theory, the elaboration likelihood model, which is very famous. It's been around for a long time, and it is kind of, everyone knows it. It's a kind of like a seminal theory, if you will, in the field of persuasion. So the elaboration likelihood model, or ELM, focuses on different ways that people respond to different persuasive messages, right? So elaboration likelihood model. Elaboration is the amount of thinking that someone engages in about something. So when you think about elaborating on something, it's to go into greater detail. Elaboration in this sense for this theory is how much detail is in great. I'm sorry, I gotta go shut this door. Hold on. See if that helps at all. The noise. So what the elaboration likelihood model says, it looks at that there's 2 routes, if you will, to attitude change. And the ELM predicts, depending on how likely it is that a receiver of a message will elaborate on a message, and depending on whether a person elaborates, thinks more deeply about a message or not, will dictate what kind of message is most persuasive. All right. So the argument is that there's 2 different routes of processing information. Okay. The first one is central route. So if your brain is split into 2, you've got the central route, you've got a peripheral route. The central route involves high elaboration. Okay. It involves the receiver of a message engaging in a lot of cognitive energy, okay? Thinking about and processing the message, okay? That's the central route. The peripheral route is the other way in which you can process a message, and that is low elaboration. Not a lot of cognitive energy, right? So rational thought is not a key in this kind of role, right? The person exerts little energy on thinking about the arguments of the message, right? So in this sense, it's you don't want to think about something, people don't want to put a lot of energy into it. And this is when we use peripheral processing, right? So in this case, instead of looking at the arguments and the facts of the message, we look at we rely on what's called peripheral cues, right? And peripheral cues are factors that help us quickly decide how to process a message. So what's a peripheral cue? A lot of times it's things like stereotypes or what we have seen happen in the past. So instead of actually, let's say, getting to know someone or a new person and basing our thoughts about a person on them, we can just say, oh, that person is a woman or that person is a man, so they must be like this. This person is black, this person is white, this person is Hispanic, so they must be like this, right? And you can use that for anything, right? So you can just stereotype people that way in that sense, instead of actually putting in the cognitive effort and energy and getting to know that specific person, you could just write them off with this peripheral cues. Now, those peripheral cues, and they're with everything. It's not just in judging people. It's in our expectations of everything. So they are sometimes based, these peripheral cues, on facts and information and have some real world, truth to them. And other times, as we know, there's no truth to them whatsoever. And those are the times where it's really dangerous to use. With that being said, it's not always a bad thing to use peripheral cues. In reality, we have to use them. We use them all the time, every day, to get through the world. If we didn't use them and we used, really great cognitive energy in every message that we received and everything we did, we would never get through the day. There's just too much stuff. So in reality, you have to use these shortcuts. If you're going to get something out of the oven, a pan out of the oven, and you sit there and think, well, should I put on oven mitts or not? I mean, you know that an oven is hot, fire is hot. Now, maybe you haven't tested this particular oven, right, yet. You haven't done that, but you know that if something is in the oven, it's going to be hot. So do you really need to go out and get your thermometer and measure it and do all this work to see if it's hot? Or can you go with the assumption that that fire is hot, so you need your oven mitts? You're just going to go get oven mitts, right? So something as simple as that, right? So you will use peripheral cues. All right. So the key is in past theories that we've talked about, it looks at persuasive messaging kind of working in all circumstances, whereas the elaboration likelihood model predicts two different ways persuasion works: central or peripheral. And depending on what kind of processing someone is engaging in will dictate what a more persuasive message will be. It's based on two factors: one, motivation; two, ability. If someone is motivated and able to process a message, they'll use central processing. If a person is either not motivated or not able, they will use peripheral processing. So if one of those two things or both of those are not there, then peripheral processing will be used. And if both of them are there, then central processing will be used. And you dictate your message based on that. So what factors affect motivation? One, personal relevance, how relevant something is; personal involvement, how involved something is; whether or not someone will be accountable for the material; personal responsibility; and then a basic need for cognition, which is a measure of an individual's desire to think or engage in processing. And people are different on this. It's a trait. Some people like to really think and like to engage in cognitive play, if you will. So people that are very curious, people that like to do puzzles, people that, you could be given an answer. Would you rather go out and search and find the answer yourself to something, or would you rather just be told? Now, none of this is inherently good or bad or better or worse. It's just that's how some people's brains work and some people's don't. There's like a 20 item scale, if you will, that you can find online called Need for Cognition, which it's a survey scale, and you can test yourself and see where you land on need for cognition. So interestingly, myself, I'm actually very low on need for cognition, which is not something typical that you find in someone in my line of work. Most professors are very high in need for cognition. They love to think. They like to discover. Scientists are high in need for cognition. They like puzzles. They like discovering things for themselves. They like thinking. Not really my thing. I would rather, I hate puzzles. I hate thinking just for the sake of thinking. I don't enjoy that. If there's an answer and someone's sitting there and they can tell me it, or I can go read through 10 books to find it, and just tell me the answer. So that's not a trait that I necessarily am very high in. So those are factors that influence motivation. And then of course the other is ability, like we said. So ability is, are you able to comprehend the message? Is it something that you know? For most of us, if we were provided with a textbook on rocket science, probably don't have the skill set right now to understand it. So our ability to understand that message is probably pretty low, right? All right, so now let's think. If we're going to influence someone, persuade someone, we have to know what kind of processing is going to be involved. So this is an example I give all the time when I'm studying this theory. Let's say I wanted to sell you a car. I'm a car salesman, and I'm selling trucks. A person comes into my shop who owns a construction company. This person's, kind of work and livelihood is dictated by the work that they do, and the truck they have is completely tied to their ability to do a job. Right? It is part of their business. It is part of their livelihood to have the right tools. So this person comes in and they know that they need a truck that has a certain amount of cargo space, and it needs to have a certain amount of engine so that they can haul materials, and that all this technical stuff that they know that they need to do the job. They've had trucks in the past. They know all about, the cars. So they are highly motivated, number one, because this is very important to their personal, the person getting the right truck. And number two, they are able in that they understand what they need and they understand the specifics of the truck. This person comes in, let's say this guy comes in, and he kind of tells me, hey, look, I own this construction company. I'm looking for a truck. I do all these different kinds of jobs. I need something that's going to do that. So he's motivated and able. I determine that he's motivated and able. So what I'm going to do is provide him with all the facts and information about this truck. Hey, look, this truck that we have has a 10,000 pound towing capacity. The flatbed is cubic, whatever feet of space. There's this, it has this side hitch and this and that, and all these facts specifically about the truck. Give them the brochure that talks about the engine and all these really technical things, because they're going to be centrally processing. This guy is going to be really thinking about it and elaborating mentally about it, and they'll be able to understand that. So that will be a very persuasive way to do it. All right. So let's say later that afternoon, a young college guy comes in and he says, hey, man, I want to buy a truck. I say, okay, well, what are what are you thinking? What kind of things do you need? This guy says, I've just always thought trucks were really cool, and I think I want a truck, and whatever. So in this sense, I get the notion that this person may be motivated to a degree, but not really motivated and not really able to understand all the intricacies of the truck. He just wants a cool car, and he thinks that a truck is a cool car, and that's it. So if I gave him the same sales pitch I gave the gentleman earlier, it's going to go straight over his head. He's not going to think about it. He's not going to centrally process. This guy's peripherally processing. He's just looking for shortcuts. He's not looking for the facts, right? So if I gave him that sales pitch from earlier, it's going to go right over his head. Not going to think about it. I'm not going to persuade him. He's going to say, I don't care about any of this stuff. I'm better off showing him a picture of that truck from an advertisement with some pretty girls in the back of it, with a grill on the beach. It's in the middle of a beach party, and there's fun, and there's sand, and there's guys drinking beers, and everyone's having fun. And with just a couple of little blurbs that says, like, the best beach cruiser around, and this, that, the other. So this person who's not centrally processing will look at that and be like, look at this. This truck means fun. If I have this truck, I'll get to go to parties. And this truck is that's the lifestyle I'm looking for. Right? So just these little shortcuts. Whether it's true or not doesn't matter. It's I'm selling that product, right? So peripheral cues, can be attractiveness of the source credibility, right? Attractiveness doesn't necessarily mean like good looking, but how attractive something is to someone, right? Rewards or punishments associated with a message, the number of arguments, right? So just more is better when you're talking about peripheral processing. If I give you 1,000 arguments, even if they're not good ones, you'll be more convinced. How other people react to an argument. So if I see other people getting excited about something, I'm going to get excited too, right? Also the mood that a person is in when they see that message. So there are, as you see, lots of different things that go into this central peripheral processing. And if you are able to tap into the person who you're trying to persuade in terms of their motivation and ability, you can try to craft a message maybe that is more persuasive based on this kind of processing routes. So if you read the chapter, there's lots more to it and different techniques. There's also an extension to this called the extended parallel processing model, which we'll get to later as well. But this is just a little bit about the ELM, and I hope you enjoy.